Chosen one, this is about you. This is about what you did, how you carried yourself, how you endured what no one else saw, and how, without fanfare, without applause, you kept going. And it shook the heavens. It was revelation. It was heaven's reaction to the quiet roar that came from your soul in a season where you should have broken down. But you didn't. You didn't collapse under pressure. You didn't throw away your promise. You didn't let the weight crush your character. Instead, you stood, silently, faithfully, and boldly, and the angels were left in awe. Before we go deeper, let this moment be sacred. If you've made it to this video, you didn't arrive by accident. There is something divine happening here. Watch this video all the way to the end. Let the message fill you. Let it stir the atmosphere around your life. And write your most sincere wish in the comments, and write amen to seal it. This is not just about hope. It's about motion. What you write becomes energy. What you release returns multiplied. And while you're here, if this message resonates, subscribe and like this video. Be part of this awakening. You're not watching by chance. You are being called. Now, let's return to that sacred space in heaven. Imagine this: a divine stillness surrounds the throne. The atmosphere is full of praise, yet something shifts. An archangel halts mid-flight. Michael, the warrior of God, pauses. He looks down, not because of a war breaking out or a planet spinning off course, but because of you. Your name whispered in the corridors of the kingdom. Your journey, your choice to respond the way you did, shifted something. Not with force, not with a loud voice, but with presence, with integrity, with unshakable posture when no one was clapping. There are realms in the spirit where reaction matters more than action, where your inner response echoes louder than external accomplishments. You didn't just survive something hard. You responded to it with grace. You didn't lash out. You didn't betray who you were. You didn't mirror the hatred thrown at you. Instead, you held on to your peace like it was your last breath. That's why heaven paused. That's why even Michael, the warrior whose presence shakes dimensions, was still. God was watching the way you carried that disappointment. Not with resentment, not with retaliation, but with wisdom, restraint, and humility. God watched how you walked away from places that wounded you without turning bitter. You could have raged. You could have revealed what they did. You could have fought back, but you didn't. You let silence do the speaking. You let your steps speak louder than your defense. And that silence thundered in the heavens. Sometimes the loudest statement you can make in life is a peaceful exit. And you made it. You walked away, not because you lost, but because you chose peace over pride. And that moment, chosen one, is where the story began shifting. That's where the page turned. That's where something started building behind the scenes. You didn't know it, but while you were crying in secret, while you were talking to God when no one was around, something holy was watching you. Not to judge you, but to crown you. Your tears didn't fall into the void. They were caught. And your attitude was the confirmation heaven needed to begin a new season in your name. Heaven doesn't react to every sound. But there are certain frequencies, certain tones of spiritual maturity that get God's attention. You reached that frequency, not with titles, not with applause, but with authenticity, with pain-stained praise, with soft answers when chaos deserved curses, with silence when slander tried to pull you into battle. That kind of response isn't weak, it's regal. And your attitude, it was royal. It was the proof that God could trust you with elevation without watching you destroy others on the climb. You could have taken revenge. You could have made them look small. But you didn't. You blessed them in private. You moved in silence. You carried pain like it was purpose. That, chosen one, is what heaven called strength. There are angels assigned to warfare. There are angels assigned to protection. But the ones that watch over destiny, they take note of character. And your character under fire? Impeccable. That's why God was speechless. Not because God didn't know the outcome, but because the way you walked through it reflected heaven in the most stunning way. You reminded God of what He placed in you. You walked like someone who had already seen the throne. You didn't break. You bent. And bending is not a sign of defeat. It's proof of flexibility under divine pressure. You bent under pain, but never bowed to evil. You cried, but never cursed. You bled, but never broke trust. That kind of posture shifts timelines. That kind of heart invites blessings not because you asked, but because you proved you could be trusted. You didn't just make it through something, you became something in the process. You became the kind of vessel heaven uses to make generational change. The kind of soul that carries light into dark rooms. The kind of presence that makes demons uncomfortable. Not because you shouted, but because you carried holy peace. And that peace, it made you untouchable. Michael, the archangel, is known for battle. But he stopped not because of war, but because of awe. He saw you and said nothing. Not because he wasn't capable of praising, but because silence was the only way to respect what you carried. Even heaven knows when to be still. And in your case, the stillness wasn't absence. It was reverence. You became a message, a living scripture without words, a walking testimony without needing to prove anything. You turned pain into purpose. You made rejection your redirection. You took the closed doors as divine instructions, and instead of bitterness, you built something inside of you that the world can't take away. Pure, silent strength. God loves you, chosen one. That's not in question. But what left God speechless was how you reflected that love back. Not just in prayer, but in posture. You mirrored God when you were misunderstood. You echoed heaven when you chose mercy. You embodied divinity when you withheld revenge. That's why your story can't end where it started. That's why things are changing now. Not just because of timing, but because of what you've become. You are no longer just waiting on a miracle. You are one. You are the shift. You are the sign. You are the sound that caused the heavens to stand still. And so now, heaven is not only watching, it's responding. Not because you asked, but because you endured. Not because you begged, but because you bloomed. And now, the response from heaven will match the silence you kept. The louder your pain, the greater your promise. And your promise is here. This is only the beginning, but it is a beginning that comes with honor. And as you keep walking, may the heavens reward the weight you carried without complaint. Let the atmosphere around you reflect the honor within you. You deserve what's next, not because of luck, but because of legacy. You became what the moment required, and the heavens could no longer ignore it. No one knew the true cost. No one saw the silent wars you fought. And yet, somehow, the universe responded to the vibration of your soul. It wasn't the loudest voice in the room that shifted the heavens. It was yours, silent and steady. You moved like a storm cloaked in peace, and even the winds had to stop and bow. In the hidden places, where no hand reached out to lift you, you carried weight that wasn't built for human shoulders. Yet you did it with grace. You bore burdens that would have broken others, but you folded them into your walk and made them part of your movement. You did not ask for recognition. You didn't shout for help. You simply kept showing up, glowing with the kind of inner light that only comes from surviving fire. God saw every moment you chose restraint over retaliation, every time you swallowed your truth just to keep the peace, every time you bit your tongue when lies about you moved faster than truth. God heard what you didn't say. God understood what you couldn't put into words. And in that restraint, God saw royalty. There's a special kind of strength that only blooms in the shadows. The kind that grows when no one's watching. The kind that forms not through applause, but through resistance. And your attitude, your ability to remain unmoved by what tried to destabilize you, was the highest form of worship. Not through song, not through performance, but through posture. The angels marveled because they knew your name. They remembered the assignments against you. They saw the weapons formed. They saw the whispers, the sabotage, the delay. They knew the strategy of darkness to silence your light. But instead of collapsing, you kept radiating. The light got brighter. The attitude got stronger. You remained. When you were left behind, you didn't chase. When they questioned your worth, you didn't argue. When the door slammed, you found the windows. And when no windows opened, you built your own exit with prayer and patience. That kind of response, it's not learned, it's planted. It comes from a divine deposit deep inside you. One placed there before time, before trauma, before titles. You've always been marked. Chosen one, do you realize what it means to have an attitude that leaves heaven in awe? It means you reflected God in moments where most reflect the world. You chose love when anger was easier. You chose silence when vengeance would have been justified. You chose humility when your name was dragged. And that choice echoed louder than any scream. God does not forget. There is a holy memory tied to moments like these. And because of your unwavering heart, a new wave is coming. A wave of response, a divine echo. What you've endured has already set miracles in motion. Not because you begged, but because you believed. Not because you demanded, but because you demonstrated. Some people think favor comes from shouting louder, from praying longer, from performing righteousness. But you've shown that the truest favor finds those who live it, not those who announce it. You lived the right way when it would have been easy to fall apart. And now, the reward is pursuing you. You became a mirror, not of the pain around you, but of the God within you. That's what left the heavens silent. Not your perfection, but your consistency. You didn't fake holiness. You walked in wholeness, even when you were bleeding. You didn't broadcast your storms. You carried them with dignity. And your attitude? It became your anointing. Michael, the archangel, didn't stop because of what you said. He paused because of who you are. Because your spirit released something rare. An aroma of loyalty, perseverance, and sacred fire. That aroma rose above the noise. It ascended past distraction. And it landed at the throne like a silent song. A testimony with no words. A shout without a voice. God doesn't need to be impressed, but God honors what reflects his nature. And you, chosen one, reflected it with every silent decision, with every unseen sacrifice, with every time you forgave when you had every right not to. That's what heaven couldn't ignore. That's what left the angels still. You are not ordinary. You've never been. But it took the pain to reveal what was hidden. It took betrayal to expose what was royal. It took the silence of being overlooked to reveal the power of your presence. And now, what was hidden is being honored. Don't be surprised when the elevation doesn't look like revenge. It will look like restoration. It will look like new doors that match your maturity. It will look like people being sent to honor the version of you that kept going when it wasn't fair. Your reward is not an applause. Your reward is in alignment. This is the season where the right rooms recognize you, where the atmosphere shifts when you enter, not because of your outfit or your following, but because of your energy. You carry something rare, something that isn't loud, but is deeply felt. You shift the air, and because of that, you've now become unstoppable. Not in the worldly sense, but in the divine. You are too anchored to be shaken, too aligned to be pulled out of position, too rooted to be removed by opinion. Your attitude has made you a pillar, and the winds can't move what God has made immovable. There's a heavenly spotlight following you now, not to expose, but to exalt. Not to make you famous, but to make your story fruitful. The same story that tried to silence you is the story that will save others. Your attitude is now a message. It will go where your words can't. It will unlock doors that talent never could. It will invite favor that resumes can't explain. This is why the warfare was so intense. Because what you carry is not common. And the enemy knew, if you ever made it through the fire with your character intact, you'd become a threat to the systems of darkness. You'd become a blueprint for grace under pressure. You'd become a lighthouse for those lost in storms. Chosen one, you're glowing differently now. And it's not because you're trying, it's because you're true. You've proven that power can be gentle, that strength can be quiet, that divine authority doesn't scream. It simply arrives, and the atmosphere adjusts. That's why the next phase of your journey will not require explanation. It will not need marketing. It will come with ease. Because when God is behind a thing, the weight of performance falls away, and all that's left is flow. Your attitude started a conversation in heaven. And now, heaven is responding. In resources, in relationships, in reversals, in reminders of who you really are. You won't need to announce this next chapter. It will announce itself. You held it together. You refused to become what tried to destroy you. And now, the reward will be a life that reflects the restraint you chose. Not a life of luxury for vanity's sake, but a life of divine alignment. A life of ease after endurance. A life of honor after humility. And just like that, the silence that stunned heaven has now turned into the sound of celebration. Your name is on the lips of angels. Your path is marked by miracles, and your next step is already blessed. There is a sacred ripple moving through the spiritual realm, one that didn't start with a performance, a platform, or a prayer shouted in the open. It started in private, in the quiet decisions, in the moments no one applauded. It started with your attitude. You see, the world praises the loud ones, the bold ones, the ones who speak up and stand out. But heaven responds to something different. Heaven looks for the one who says nothing, but still does what's right. And you, chosen one, have been living right in a wrong world. That decision has changed the current of everything around you. When God looked at your heart, there was no mask. When the angels gathered to report, it wasn't your victories they spoke about. It was your virtue. When Michael paused, it wasn't because you roared. It was because you refused to roar when you could have. He stood still, stunned by the power you released through self-control. That kind of dominion is rare. It echoes back to the origin of divine authority. And you walked in it. The world didn't notice. But heaven did. The ones who laughed at your silence didn't know what it was protecting. The ones who called you weak didn't realize you were pulling back not because you lacked power, but because you honored the higher law of restraint. Your refusal to retaliate was not a sign of weakness. It was a declaration of trust. You trusted that God saw. You trusted that the one who appoints also defends. And now, because of that trust, there is a new shift unfolding in your life. One you didn't demand. One you didn't have to strategize. One you didn't even chase. It's coming to you because of your posture. You didn't push doors open. You carried yourself in such a way that heaven itself began unlocking them on your behalf. There's no need for you to run anymore. What's meant for you is not just on its way, it's being placed in your path. Destiny has caught up to you, and the moments you thought were wasted in patience are returning to you as rewards in overflow. This is what happens when heaven responds to character. There are people right now sensing something about you, and they don't know why. They feel your name, your presence, your shift. You're entering a phase where your life becomes magnetic, not because of popularity, but because of purity. You've been purified in fire, and what fire didn't destroy, it refined. You're walking proof. You don't need to explain what happened behind the scenes. Your energy says enough. You don't need to correct the false stories. Your fruit will be the response. What tried to bury you didn't know you were a seed. And now the roots have taken hold. Now the bloom is inevitable. Heaven is ready to make your private devotion a public demonstration. But this is not about revenge. It's about revealing. It's about letting the world see what God saw all along. It's about vindication that doesn't scream, "I told you so," but smiles quietly and keeps walking. God is not promoting you to prove a point. He's lifting you because your attitude proved everything. It was never about credentials. It was about heart. It was about how you held yourself in rooms of dishonor. It was about how you still blessed those who bruised you. It was about how you still walked with kindness when you were surrounded by chaos. And now, what was unseen is being exposed, not in shame, but in glory. You didn't build yourself to be recognized, but now the recognition is coming. You didn't pursue the spotlight, but now it's searching for you. Because what you carry must be seen. What you carry must be felt. There are souls who need to witness the calmness you carry, the fire you kept hidden, the royalty in your humility. The spirit realm has already announced it. And now, the physical realm is catching up. New alignments are forming. Resources are being rerouted. Opportunities are being redirected. Not because you begged, but because you've been branded by favor. The kind of favor that comes from walking through seasons of pain with an attitude of peace. Even now, things are shifting for you behind the veil. Decisions are being made in your favor. Tables are being prepared in your name. Conversations are being had where your name is rising with honor, not controversy. And it's all because your attitude created room for you. You didn't demand the mic, but your silence was so holy it echoed louder than 1,000 voices. And now you will speak, not because you're angry, but because your time has come. You're not returning to prove you were right. You're rising to demonstrate that you were righteous. And righteousness has a memory. It has a harvest. You are about to walk into it. Don't be surprised when those who dismissed you now try to draw close. Don't be surprised when rooms that once rejected you now request your presence. This is the nature of divine reversal, and you don't have to force it. All you need to do is keep walking with that same attitude that left heaven in awe. There are people who thought your silence meant surrender, but your silence was strategy. It wasn't retreat, it was reset. And now that reset is releasing resources. Doors will open that weren't even on your map, because your steps are not being ordered by man, they are being ordered by the divine. And your response in obscurity has positioned you for visibility. Chosen one, this is the part of your story where the shift becomes visible, where the spiritual becomes tangible, where the hidden rewards begin to manifest in the natural. What was once whispered about you in heavenly places will now be witnessed in earthly ones. The season you are entering will not require you to raise your voice. Your walk will speak for you. Your energy will go before you. Your presence will carry the weight of divine endorsement. You became the kind of person God can trust with influence, not because you craved attention, but because you carried weight in silence. And now, heaven is lifting the curtain. The next stage is yours, not for performance, but for purpose. Your attitude in the fire has earned you a throne in the presence of those who thought you'd burn out. And now, your radiance is undeniable. You glow with what you survived. You shine with what didn't break you. You walk with the honor of one who was refined, not ruined. There is no more delay. The atmosphere around you is shifting. Your name is being carried into rooms of impact. And you didn't have to knock. The doors are unlocking because your attitude matched heaven's frequency. What you did in private is about to go public. What you endured in silence is about to be celebrated out loud. And not just by people, but by divine forces aligning to bless your steps. There is a realm beyond the natural, a realm where every movement of your soul is recorded, where your sighs are translated into sacred language, where your silence is not ignored, but interpreted. In that realm, your attitude wrote a story that stunned the heavens. It wasn't about how loud your praise was. It wasn't about the number of prayers you prayed in a day. It was about what you embodied when no one expected anything from you anymore. That's what left God speechless. That's what caused Michael, the archangel, to stand still. Because in that realm, attitude weighs more than words. Integrity speaks louder than declarations. Stillness resounds like thunder. God watched you walk through unfair seasons and carry yourself like someone who already knew the outcome was victory. That posture, that inner knowing, was not arrogance. It was alignment. You didn't need the situation to change for you to be at peace. You found peace within it. You became the calm in your own storm. And the way you did it wasn't scripted. It wasn't rehearsed. It was real. That's what pierced the veil. There's something powerful about living your truth when no one is affirming it. About honoring your calling when it looks like your calling has forgotten you. That's the exact tension you lived in. You stood tall in a space where most would have crumbled. And you did it without clinging to applause, without needing an audience, without begging for validation. That's why heaven responded. You became the kind of soul that doesn't just move through trials. You transformed them. You shifted the atmosphere of every place you entered. Not with noise, but with stillness. Not with force, but with presence. You've walked into rooms where your energy spoke before your mouth ever did. And that energy came from the weight of what you carried without complaint. There are levels in the spirit that can only be accessed through character. Levels that titles won't open, that gifting won't unlock. But attitude, pure, humble, unwavering attitude, becomes the key. And you, chosen one, carried that key. You walked through the fire, and the fire respected your posture. You faced betrayal, and betrayal couldn't dismantle your purpose. You stood before spiritual storms, and the storms had to bow. This is the secret few understand. Heaven is not moved by drama. It's moved by depth. Heaven doesn't react to emotion. It reacts to embodiment. And your embodiment of grace under pressure? It rewrote atmospheres. It silenced accusations in the courts of the unseen. It realigned timelines. You didn't just show resilience. You revealed royal DNA. You carried yourself like someone who remembered where they came from, even if the world forgot. You knew your origin was divine, so you responded like someone who belonged to another world. And that truth was louder than the lies that tried to surround you. God didn't forget. Not a single moment of your restraint went unnoticed. Not a single act of kindness under pressure went unseen. The way you held your tongue, the way you protected the dignity of those who attacked yours, the way you refused to play dirty in a world that rewards revenge. Every one of those choices built something eternal. You were building a legacy in heaven, and now the heavens are responding with legacy on earth. This next season will carry the evidence of the posture you maintained. It will carry the fruit of seeds you planted in silence. It will carry the restoration of years that were denied honor. Because the God who saw your restraint is the God who rewards in fullness. There are spiritual records being opened on your behalf now, records that contain the details no one else knew. The silent nights, the unspoken grief, the decisions to bless others when you had nothing left. And those records are speaking. They are crying out from the archives of heaven. This one remained true. Heaven is not just clapping. Heaven is moving. Resources are realigning because of what you carried. Relationships are being restored because of what you refuse to destroy. Influence is being redirected toward you, not because you chased it, but because your character attracted it. You don't need to fight for position when your attitude already holds the posture of purpose. Michael was stunned because he saw the war behind your walk. He saw the forces that tried to derail you. He saw the schemes designed to make you bitter. He saw the invisible hands that tried to twist your story. And then he saw you choose peace. He saw you stand tall. He saw you weep and still worship. And that kind of response, it demands respect, even from warriors of heaven. Because it's one thing to fight and win. It's another thing to stand and endure. You endured, with dignity, with grace, with the kind of energy that makes even storms confused. They thought they were coming to break you, but your attitude made them lose power. You didn't shout back. You didn't curse what cursed you. You didn't post your pain to get pity. You sat with it. You prayed over it. You transmuted it. And then you turned that pain into power. That's what made the heavens shift. That's what made the atmosphere change. Now, every place that denied you will be revisited with favor. Every space that tried to close will become an entry point. Every hand that once pointed in mockery will now be forced to witness your glow. And they won't understand it, because they missed the part of your story that God was watching. They didn't see the version of you that knelt in silence. They didn't see the version of you that blessed enemies. They didn't see what heaven saw. But they're about to see what heaven's been planning. You're not rising because of strategy. You're rising because of spirit. Because the same attitude that stunned the heavens is the one now carrying you to higher dimensions. Don't expect everyone to understand this next chapter. It wasn't written for them. It was written by your walk. Every step you took in honor was a sentence. Every time you remained still in chaos was a paragraph. Every choice to stay aligned when everything begged you to shift off-center, that was the punctuation. Your story was authored by integrity. And now, it's time for that story to be read. Doors will recognize your name before you speak it. Paths will clear because of your presence. Opportunities will wait for you. Not because of anything external, but because of what your soul emits. You are carrying frequency now. One that's impossible to imitate. One that can't be copied. It was forged in fire. It was sealed in silence. And now, it's rising. This is your era of divine recognition. And it's not about going viral. It's about going vertical. Heaven is lifting you, not for show, but for service. Your platform is not for noise, but for nurturing. And your glow is not for glamour, it's for glory. Everything you've done quietly is now becoming undeniable publicly. Not for pride, but for purpose. You are heaven's message, chosen one. A reminder that attitude under pressure rewrites outcomes. A symbol that what you carry in silence shapes what shows up in your destiny. And now, heaven's silence has turned to movement. There are realms where words fail. Realms where even heavenly voices are hushed because the weight of what's unfolding can't be captured in sound. This is one of those realms. And in it, your name was mentioned. Not because of a mistake, not because of a request, but because of a response. Your response. Your attitude. It wasn't the miracles that triggered heaven. It was the manner in which you waited for them. You didn't wait with complaint. You waited with honor. You didn't just survive delays, you sanctified them with patience. And while others raced toward recognition, you remained rooted in reverence. That posture opened something no performance ever could. God wasn't impressed with your strength. He was moved by your surrender. You didn't try to impress. You didn't try to manipulate. You didn't try to outrun the process. You embraced it. You walked through it slowly, with hands open, with a heart still soft even when the weight pressed down. That softness, rare in this world, became your signature in the heavens. This is the part where everything starts to mirror what heaven already decided. You are being promoted, but not like the world promotes. This isn't a celebration of ego. It's the coronation of character. God isn't just opening a door. He's changing your address. You are not being invited to the table. You are becoming the table. Where you once sat in the background, now the light is fixed on you, Where you were once forgotten, now the spotlight of divine favor is following you, and you didn't campaign for it. Your character carried you here. If this message stirred something in your spirit, write your thoughts in the comments below. What moved you? What reminded you of your own journey? Let your voice rise now in response to the silence you once kept. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel. There are more confirmations coming, and your name is already in the next message.